Well, if you're a lot like me, like I think a lot of people may be, then one of the things you kind of, I'll say, stumble upon, that might not be the right word, but I'll use it, is paperwork, bureaucracy, filing, if you will. And that brings us up to our next guest, who will be discussing the topic, when was the last time you reviewed your estate planning documents? Stuff that's can be a little bit easy to put off because it's as I say, paperwork. Joining me at this time, as he often does, is the best-selling author and wealth manager at Dynamic Advisory Solutions, Urban Adams. Urban, first of all, let me say congratulations. You're author of the book Wealth Your Way, and it's just been named as an Amazon #1 bestseller. Good job.
Thanks very much, Rick. Great, great to have that out there, and loving the feedback so far.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so this is an important topic. I would think it's something that a lot of people kind of might put off and overlook. Procrastinate might be the better description.
No, I think that's a great way to describe it, because when thinking about estate planning, it usually involves us thinking about our own mortality, which is not something that most of us wish to talk about.
Good point.
Couldn't be more important. And this is around the time of year, we're now close to midway through the year. We've been through tax season. We've gotten our tax return done. We're thinking, we're in summer vacation mode. And I like to remind clients that while we may not look at this annually, if you have estate planning documents on file, you have an estate plan created, which means you likely have a trust, you're going to have a will, you're going to have financial and healthcare powers of attorney, in addition to the living will, which of course describes your wishes at end of life. And all of those documents make up for the typical estate plan document set. And over time, things will change, whether it's life changes, a marriage, divorce, a birth of a child, any number of those life events might cause someone to say, hey, it's time to relook at the estate plan documents, make sure they're up to date. And I think what's important too is to point out is that it's not just those who are the beneficiaries and things like that, but it's important to keep in mind when you've created an estate plan, you're assigning a personal representative, you're assigning perhaps successor trustees. And those individuals who are in those roles need to make sure that they're still willing and able to perform those roles, because if they aren't and something happens to you, that could create some challenges for your family, for your descendants in an already very difficult time. So it's just really important to maybe make it as even if it's just a checkbox for the year, hey, nothing's changed. It's been within 5 years since we did the plan, or it's been reviewed and we're in good shape. But if it hasn't, or if you haven't created that plan, I can't stress enough making sure that you get a review of it, review it with your advisor, review it with your attorney, and make sure that everything's up to date.
What would you say? How often should someone, generally speaking, uh, plan on doing a review?
Really great question. So my the advice that I've gotten from estate planning professionals, attorneys who I work with my clients, have indicated that typically speaking, at least every 5 years. Now, the exception to that every 5 years rule is the idea that if there is one of those significant life changes, it might warrant that review sooner than that 5 year period.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Good information. Tell us about Wealth Your Way. Tell us about the book.
Well, there's definitely a chapter in Wealth Your Way that discusses estate planning and the importance of it, and talks about how a in my case a family member was dealing with an issue. I share a couple of other stories, and it really dives into the importance of that and the importance of addressing it, because a lot of us would, as you mentioned at the beginning, some of us would prefer to just procrastinate, put our heads in the sand, and pretend it's all going to be taken care of. And it just doesn't happen that way. And that's just one facet, one chapter of the book that covers that overall financial planning perspective, and a very important one, but they're all very important. It's like having any one of those missing would be like building a home without a roof.
Wow. Wow. Urban Adams, again, very good information. I'll use the term foundational information. Not something we hear about a lot, but it's critical, and appreciate you joining us.
Thanks again, Rick. Always great to be with you.
All right, back with more after.